They said it was going to happen, so it should come as no surprise. But the number of COVID-19 cases in Ontario schools is now above the mark of 1,000. And so safety concerns are on the rise, with more students and teachers being sent home either with the virus or out of precaution. Parents eager and anxious to pick up their little ones from King George Junior Public School at the end of the day, after a week full of questions about a COVID outbreak.
I was very, very nervous to send my son back to school. When we found out about all the positive cases, we actually kept him home for 4 days and waited until there was a few days of no new cases before we actually brought him back.
A couple of linked cases last week meant an outbreak was declared by Toronto Public Health. Now, there are 8 active cases and 3 classes have been sent home to isolate.
There's been quite a bit of spread within the class, and presumably those children don't have symptoms or they wouldn't have been sent to school. So I have quite a few questions for TPH, but as far as the school, they've been doing a great job.
179 more COVID cases in Ontario schools were reported this morning, bringing the case count up to 1,121 in 660 facilities across the province. One remains closed in Windsor. Toronto Public Health has now declared 9 outbreaks in the city's public and private schools, including the latest at Blessed Margarita Catholic School, announced on Twitter this afternoon. 109 of those cases are in the Toronto District School Board.
What is happening in those schools at this point?
We're keeping a close eye on it, but at this point, it appears to be isolated to those cases, those classes who continue to self-isolate. And we hope, obviously, that they'll be able to come back relatively shortly and that outbreak declaration will be ended.
Questions continue to be raised about safety protocols and whether more should be done in an effort to keep the virus from spreading. At this point, home saliva test kits are only distributed to those who may be linked to a case before having to wait to return to school.
In elementary, where there are unvaccinated individuals, obviously, we have to wait the 10 days to see if symptoms develop. We could, over time, in high-risk communities where we really don't want to see schools closed, have access to rapid testing in those environments where the community rate's high.
Runnymede isn't considered a high-risk community, and yet a school in the neighborhood now has the highest case count in the city, something parents at King George continue to watch closely, along with their own little ones, while trying to keep them safe. Now, we have found out that the number of students that have been asked to isolate at this school alone is 59. No word on the number of staff that are isolating as well. At this point, there is no indication, despite the number of outbreaks in Toronto, that any schools will be closed.